Ukraine has been targeting Moscow with drones almost every day since the start of 2026, according to Russia's defense ministry, a sign of a clear escalation compared to earlier, more sporadic attacks. Russian officials say air defense shot down 57 drones over the Moscow region overnight on Sunday, out of 437 intercepted across Russia. Kyiv has not commented, but Ukraine has increasingly used long-range drones to strike deep inside Russian territory. Ukraine says these attacks are aimed at disrupting military logistics and energy infrastructure, raising the cost of Russia's war, and responding to continued Russian missile and drone strikes on Ukrainian cities. The drone activity has already caused disruptions. Moscow airports and dozens of others across Russia were temporarily closed for safety reasons right in the middle of the New Year and Orthodox Christmas holiday period, one of the busiest travel seasons in the country. Russian state media estimates that more than 1,500 Ukrainian drones were intercepted over Russia and occupied Crimea in just the past week. An overnight Russian air attack on Kyiv has killed civilians for the first time this year, Ukrainian authorities say. 2 people were killed after Russian missile and drones hit the capital and surrounding areas late Sunday night. Ukraine's emergency services say one of the strikes caused a fire at a medical facility in Kyiv's Obolonsky district, where patients were staying overnight. After firefighters put out the blaze, a body was found inside the building. A woman was injured and at least 25 people were evacuated. Russian strikes also hit town and villages across the region. Homes and critical infrastructure were damaged, and another civilian was killed in the Fastiv district, southwest of the capital. Parts of the region were left without electricity. Russia has not commented on the attack. Moscow says it targets military sites only, while Ukraine says civilians and civilian infrastructure are regularly hit. Russian forces are applying a new battlefield model in eastern Ukraine, developed during the long fighting around Pokrovsk, analysts say. The tactic is simple but dangerous. First, Russian drones destroy Ukrainian supply routes. Then small infantry and sabotage groups move in, slowly infiltrating weakened defenses. According to the Institute for the Study of War, this approach allows Russia to keep advancing while avoiding large armored assaults that have become too costly due to Ukrainian drone attacks. Although Russia has paid a very high price and gained limited ground, that strategy shows the Russian army is adapting. If not stopped, analysts warn it could create serious problems for Ukraine in the coming months. Experts stress that continued Western military aid and intelligence support are essential to counter this new model. Without it, Russia is unlikely to agree to real peace talks. Donald Trump says he does not believe Ukraine attacked Putin's residence in Russia. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump says something may have happened nearby, but not at Putin's residence itself. According to Trump, U.S. officials reviewed the information and concluded that Putin's residence was not the target. Last week, Russia accused Ukraine of launching 91 drones at Putin's residence in Russia's Novgorod region, calling it a terrorist attack and personal strike against Putin. Moscow provided no evidence to support the claim. The accusations came shortly after Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida to discuss possible peace talks. Russia later threatened retaliation and said its negotiating position would change. Ukraine and its European allies rejected the accusations, saying Russia was trying to derail peace efforts. Trump said he first heard about the alleged attack directly from Putin and admitted he was initially angry. However, he later softened his tone, sharing a New York Post column that questioned Russia's version of events and accused Putin of spreading lies, hatred, and death as peace talks approach. Russia's defense ministry later released video footage it claimed showed a downed drone and said the drone's control has been handed over the United States.
Why did you believe Putin in that moment and then go say that about Ukraine?
Because nobody knew at that moment. I mean, that was the first I heard about it.
So why not?
He said that his house was attacked. We don't believe that happened, as now that we've been able to check.
Yeah.
But that was the first we ever heard about it.
At the same time, U.S. President Donald Trump has once again raised the issue of Greenland, saying the island is critically important for America's national security and that Europe fully understands this. According to Trump, the water around Greenland are filled with Russian and Chinese ships, creating direct security risk for the United States and its allies.
We need Greenland. from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
As Ukraine continues to fight a full-scale war, President Volodymyr Zelensky says the country is also reshaping itself from within, strengthening leadership where it matters most. In his nightly address, Zelensky announced a new phase of internal changes focusing on regional leadership across the country. He said he had personally interviewed candidates to head 5 key regional administrations: Vinnytsia, Dnipro, Poltava, Ternopil and Chernivtsi. According to the president, strong leadership at the local level is essential, not only to support local communities, but also to help other regions under pressure from the war. Zelensky stressed that resilience is built not only on the battlefield, but also through effective governance. At the same time, the Ukrainian leader said Kyiv is preparing for an important diplomatic week ahead.
We are already preparing for the next diplomatic week as well. There will be meetings in Europe that must become yet another contribution to our defense and to hastening the end of the war. Ukraine will be prepared for both possible paths ahead: diplomacy, which we are pursuing, or continued active defense if the pressure from our partners on Russia proves insufficient. Ukraine seeks peace. But Ukraine will not give up its strength to anyone.
Around 30,000 people in Czech Republic have signed a petition apologizing to Ukraine after anti-Ukrainian remarks by a senior Czech politician. The petition was written by a local teacher and community leader and sent to Ukraine's ambassador in Prague. It says many people in the Czech Republic feel solidarity and gratitude toward Ukraine and do not agree with the politician's statements. The authors say those remarks do not reflect the views of Czech society as a whole, but only a small minority. He adds that Ukraine is not only defending its own land, but also the basic principle that borders cannot be changed by force. The petition also mentions crimes committed against Ukrainians, including the killing of civilians and the destruction of entire cities. The controversy began after the politician criticized military aid to Ukraine and used offensive language in a New Year message. After that, opposition parties in the Czech parliament started steps to remove him from office. Iran's top leader is reported to have a secret escape plan in case protests in the country get out of control. According to a report by a British newspaper, the Iranian leader is preparing to leave the country and flee to Russia if security forces fail to stop the unrest. The plan would involve traveling with close aides and family members. The report says the plan is based on what happened in Syria when the country's leader fled to Moscow before opposition forces took the capital. Sources say the escape plan would be used if loyalty inside Iran's security forces begins to weaken. The leader is also described as being physically and mentally weaker after last year's conflict with Israel and has rarely appeared in public during the latest protest. Iran is now facing its largest protest in 3 years, driven by high inflation, a collapsing currency, and economic pressure. Clashes between protesters and security forces have already caused deaths. The United States has said it's watching the situation closely and is ready to support protesters if authorities use force to crush the demonstrations. That's all for now. For more content, please subscribe.